What's going on, crazy world? Welcome to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective. Madly excited about who I got in front of me today, man. I love when I got comedians, especially comedians from different lights of the world, different places in the United States. I had to remind this girl when I first met her. She couldn't even remember. And this is almost 3 years later, 3 years later, 2 years later. And she's blowing up. She's kicking ass. She's funnier than ever. She's a shit-talking animal. She's got her own podcast. And she's just a short little shit, man. She's got that Chihuahua bark, but she's got that pit bull bite in her. And she's an awesome person to have on. I know we're going to have fun. Brittany Brave, and talk about a cool-ass name. Brittany Brave, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I am officially going to add shit-talking animal to my bio.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
You got to.
I'm so about that.
How can you be?
Animal.
How can you be? First of all, how tall are you?
6'2".
You can't be. Shut the fuck up. Stop that.
No,
Do you,
fine.
are you on
6'1". I'll be modest.
Are you doing one of those women thing of don't ever ask a woman her weight or her age?
I'm not asking that. I don't think that it's rude. I mean, I'm 4'11", maybe 5 feet on a good day, somewhere between there. The DMV let me be 5 feet on my license, so shout out Miami DMV for that.
Did you literally ask them to do that?
I did not, but when I was like, nice, they tossed me an extra inch. They know it's hard out here in these streets, but yeah, no, I'm 4'11", 5 feet. It's just, I don't care. I don't think it's rude to ask about a woman's height or weight. I always get sized up as a woman and a comedian based on my height.
It's crazy, right?
It's crazy.
I guess you feel like when somebody's, I think men go through this and women don't, but obviously they do, especially in your choice of career. Yeah, when you're shorter, you automatically get overlooked. You get looked upon differently. You get tried. Men, I would never think women, but here you are, verifying that.
You big time get tried. I mean, you get tried for everything as a woman in and out of comedy, this is the reality. Like, women get judged like, are you too fat, too skinny, too much makeup, not enough makeup, you dress well, you don't dress well enough, you're single, but you're too single, you're having too much fun, you're not having enough fun, you got too many kids, you're too bored. Like, I mean, every which way, women are never making whatever the right choice is when someone's going to tell them they're making the wrong choice at any given time. And then it's amplified when you have a career in the public eye and you're a comedian. I literally had a guy come up to me at the Improv after a set and be like, wow, like, you were so funny. And I'm like, thank you. And he goes, not going to lie, like, me and my girl were talking shit about you when you walked out. Like, we didn't think you'd be funny.
It's crazy.
I was like, why? And he goes, you're like a white girl. You're little. You're a girl. You came out. But it's insane that it's, like, ingrained in us. And I just don't, I just wish women didn't have to explain themselves so much. I just wish that women could, like, kind of be. But also, to be fair, in comedy, everybody gets judged. When you step on that stage, no matter what you are, how you look, what race you are, whatever, that audience, if they don't know you, that audience is immediately
right.
The socks you're wearing, the tattoos on your arm, Hispanic, black, white, okay, girl, queer, trans. Like, they're immediately trying to guess who you are before you give them a chance to show who you are.
Don't you think that should be expected? Don't you think, like, you're in a line of work where I'm ditching, I'm pitching, and I got to be able to take it too, meaning, hey, go ahead and, do you crowd work? Some of your punchlines, some of your sets has to deal with culture, has to deal against men, has to deal with the city that you're in. So, you're delivering. You got to be able to take what comes with it.
Oh, yeah.
Does it bug you?
Was what part bug me?
When people do that, like that couple, like does it internally, does it really bug you? Or are you like, damn, people still doing that for real?
It does, not on a personal level. Like, I don't think it affects me personally. Like, it's not going to make me question who I am or who I am as a comedian anymore. But I think, like, in a general sense, I hate that people still judge like that, period. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still hate that those traits of, like, woman, white woman, small woman are immediately associated with, like, probably not funny, probably annoying, probably weak, probably whatever it is. So, like, me personally, no. I can let that shit just kind of, like, roll. You know what I mean? I've done comedy enough and I've been in this business enough that it won't attack me personally. It's the same way I feel about, like, people having issues with people who are gay. People having issues with people. I can't believe it's 2024 and we have self-driving cars, but we still have, like, old men who get mad at someone who's bisexual. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's the bigger picture of like, damn, we've come so far, yet like we still think this way. We still think so close-minded. So I think like on a big scheme, but I'll agree with you on one point. Like, I've chosen this career to be a comedian. I've chosen to be in the public eye. I've chosen to work in entertainment. So I will agree with you on that. On some level, you know what you're putting yourself out. You're putting yourself out there for a living.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so.
And I do see your point. I'm not against it at all.
Yeah.
What I would say though is, if you can name, I can't. Maybe you can because you're in the industry. But how many dope ass known comedians are out there who are women? They're just now.
There's so many.
Yeah, but in racial to men. Like, what I'm saying is, we're now seeing it as the public, as people who are fans of comedians, and I love comedians. I follow the hell out of TikTok because of so many up and coming comedians and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I've never seen the blonde who did Tom Brady's roast.
Nikki Glazer.
I never seen her until then, and she was fucking phenomenal. She was the highlight of the best roast,
it.
the best roast
She
ever.
had the best set of the
and
night.
she absolutely murked it. I never knew who she was. So before that, I was thinking, I never thought, oh, women aren't funny. But I did think to myself, I haven't seen a lot of funny women. Matter of fact, I haven't seen a lot of women make it onto the big screen and do their own sets.
You're
I haven't.
probably unfortunately right, but you know what? We have the entertainment industry and society to blame because
I agree. Okay.
that's the reason. We don't get the same credit. We have to work. I'm not whining.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
You know
I hear
what
you.
I mean?
I
Like,
completely hear you.
I'm a comedian first before I'm ever a female comedian. Let's get that straight.
I like that. I like that.
I am a comedian. Yeah, I happen to identify as, be a female, but first and foremost, I am a comedian, and my job when I get on stage is to entertain a group of people, make them laugh, make them think, make them enjoy their night, period. It breaks my heart when I hear that because, I mean, I talk to people, I talk to kids, I talk to anybody, and I go, who's your favorite comedian? And it's never a woman. It's Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, Bill Burr, Chris Rock, who are amazing. Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock are my, like, on my Mount Rushmore of comedians that I aspire to be and performers that I aspire to be like, you know? But female comedians have been around forever. I mean, Phyllis Diller, Joan Rivers, Gilda Radner. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Mose Mabley, like all these women have been around forever. It's shame on the entertainment industry and society for never giving them the chance to be at the forefront the way they are now, you know? Because the fact of the matter is they've been around for Tina Fey.
Yeah, that's right, Tina Fey, yes.
Amy Poehler, Kristen Wiig.
Amy, yep.
You know what I mean? Like, there's always been hysterical women and amazing comedians who are also women. It's just society didn't allow it or didn't allow them to be as at the forefront as they are now. And while it sucks, the silver lining is it also is like the best time to be a woman in comedy.
There you go.
It is because it's like, oh, people are waking up.
Right.
You know, I'm sure Joan Rivers is up in heaven like,
right.
You're fucking welcome, assholes. I broke all those doors down for you. You're welcome. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it is because of her and Gilda Radner and Phyllis Diller and Lucille Ball and everybody that I'm able to even get a fraction of the credit that I get today.
And on that note, did they inspire you when you were young? Like, how did you get into comedy? Like, what was it that, were you just a shit talker because of siblings, because of your upbringing? Or is this something that kind of developed like after high school? What made you want to get into comedy?
I have no siblings. I'm an only child. I'm the only person in my family, the black sheep, if you will.
Okay, plug it.
Yeah, plug it. The only one that does anything like this at all. We have nurses, we have lawyers, we have salespeople, office people, teachers. And then I am literally the only person in my big-ass crazy Italian family that was like, I want to be an artist. The only one. Which came with its own challenges with my parents and everything. But I don't know. I've been a performer forever. Forever. I grew up dancing, doing theater. My mom didn't force me to do that. I just naturally gravitated towards that. I would want to, put on shows for her and my dad all the time. I was always playing pretend. I was always dancing. I was always singing. I loved music. And that's how my mom, luckily, picked up like, okay, I think she wants to be in the arts. So she started putting me in that. And And I never did stand up until about 4 years ago. I started right before the pandemic, more or less.
Really? That's how fresh you are into it.
Yeah, like
And
2019.
you're this fucking good. I'm impressed, girl.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of improv and sketch and acting, and stuff like that. So I think
but stand up is next level.
It is. It is. It's
we were talking about off camera without saying names.
Yeah.
People that we know of locally, and both here in Miami and in your neck of the woods of New York, people who are good at what they do, whether it's content creation or whatever it is, and they're stand-up's not their thing, and they should probably stay away from it.
They should probably stay.
But you yourself,
they should stick to making videos on their phone.
There you go. But you're killing it right now.
Thank you. Yeah, it's stand-up is incredibly hard. It is. It's the hardest art form. And a lot of people nowadays, again, without naming names, think that they can do it because they have an Instagram following or think that they can do it for whatever XYZ delulu they're going through. But it's a long game. It requires a lot of vulnerability.
Yes.
And I can promise you that just because you kill in your hometown at a sold-out show in front of people who look like you, are Hispanic like you, or Italian like you, or white like you, and you have an Instagram following, and, oh, that show went really well, I can do this. I challenge all of those people to go do comedy in an underground comedy club in Fargo, North Dakota, or I challenge those people to go to Plano, Texas. I challenge those people to go to Buffalo, New York, upstate New York, and see if what they're doing translates. So, yeah, I know I'm biased, but by far, out of all the creative fields, stand-up, and I can tell you this because I've dabbled in a lot of them.
Okay.
Acted, improv, sketch, dance, cheerleading, chorus, choir, musical theater, you name it. And I got to stand up, and I was humbled. And this is someone who's been on stage for a great chunk of their life. And then I got to stand-up comedy, and I was like, fuck. This is like a whole new... I knew it was for me from the first time I went on stage, but also I was like, oh, damn. Shit. This is like... Yeah. It's completely different.
I remember hearing one of Joe Rogan's podcasts, and he was telling, and he's done this several times throughout his podcast. He had, I can't say his name right now. It's one of Dave Chappelle's old, he's a comedian, the bald-headed guy. I can't say his name. But anyhow, he was trying to tell the guy to do a podcast, and Buddy was cracking back and was saying, Joe, you tell everybody to do a podcast. And he goes, yeah, I do tell certain people, but truth be told, this is what I really think. And when he said what I'm about to say right now, I agreed. He says, it kind of took me by surprise, but then I agreed. He says, listen, I think that every group of friends, there's that one, sometimes two people in the group who's just, that's the biggest shit talker. That's the funniest one. That person's quick and witty, fast, just trigger happy, ready to go with some jokes and, keep you in your place, whatever. I think if you're that person and you're that person, I 100% want to encourage you to try stand-up comedy.
Sure.
And then he says, and if whether or not you like stand-up comedy, that might be your thing, but if you are that person and you have a good talk game, I want to encourage you to also try a podcast. And he gave his little reasons and so on and so forth. Yeah, I kind of vibe with it. That's kind of what motivated me, because I was watching, I was getting high with my roommate at the time. He's looking at me while Joe Rogan's saying this. I'm having like a little epiphany, and I'm like, all right, the weed's not that good, and he's over here telling me, dude, Joe Rogan's describing you. Like, you're that guy. Like, you are the biggest shit talker. You are this and that, Not saying that I'm going to do stand-up comedy, but more of the podcast tip. Did you have one of those moments? Was there somebody who kind of, because you just said that you've done all this theatrical stuff, that there's a lot of levels of what you've done, which is great because, helps make you who you are now. When was it that him, her, or whatever happened that kind of made you want to go to the comedic part and not just any comedy, because you could have been doing content in the safe zone? You put yourself on blast. You took that chance where, you got humbled. How'd that happen? Listen here, folks. Winter is amongst us. Spring's still a couple of months away. I know you guys are feeling this cool breeze. Why don't you go to blacksheepapparel.shop and go cop you some of the dopest sweaters, hoodies, long sleeve shirts, and everything else you can imagine to make you look fly for this season. Or maybe you're just getting ready for the summer or the spring. We got shorts, we got tank tops, we got it all. Make sure you go visit blacksheepapparel.shop to get the flyest gear and to remind the world that you're a proud black sheep. Now let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been funny. That's the one thing, and I think that's a common thread with all of the good comedians and the people who stick with it after a couple years and have been doing it for a while. And I say that because, like any art form or craft, I mean, you're going on 4 years of your podcast, so obviously you found something you're good at. You have a following. You've stuck with it. Part of the reason you stuck with it is because you know you're good at it. You know it's something that you have a natural ability at. I say that with comedy, too, just because there's a lot of people coming in and going, and it's what. So I bring up the longevity part for a very specific reason.
Yeah, legit, of course.
Because this shit's very hard. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people think they're killing 2 years in. And I'm like, oh, buddy. Wait till you think it's hard when you start. Wait till you're 4 or 5 years in.
Right.
And you're really finding your voice and you're doing rooms where there's people who don't look like you and you have that's when you're really like, oh, it's a grind now. Now it's a grind, let alone 10 years in, whatever. But I had always been funny. If there was one trait about me that I could bank on, even more than smart or energetic or whatever it was, I knew how to make a stranger laugh. I knew how to make my family laugh. And above all else, I loved comedy. I just loved people who could make people laugh. I loved that feeling of a laugh breaking tension or breaking up a sad moment. I loved funny movies. I loved every movie or TV show my mom put on. The funny, weird one was the one that I was like, oh my God. I loved Jim Carrey's The Mask as a kid. I loved Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I loved
classic.
I've been watching Saturday Night Live since I was literally a baby and couldn't understand even what the sketches were about. But I loved watching these people play and move and make people laugh. So that has been in me forever. And then I think it just took its final form once I arrived at stand-up. Once I arrived at stand-up, it was a little bit of we're here. This is it. You know what I mean? As challenging as it was, I had arrived at it. But I would agree with you. I think if you are the person in your friend group that has the hot takes and you're quick and the shit talker, if you will, whatever, maybe there is something for you in comedy. Maybe there is something that you should, and it's also okay if you try it and you don't.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
That's also okay if you try it and you're like, I'm good. You know, that's totally fine. So yeah.
Do you feel like when you had your first performance, did you bomb? The very, very, very first one.
No, you do well.
You did. No, I'm talking about you personally.
Yeah, you do well. Anybody who, all the great South Florida comedians we were talking about off camera that we can mention their names: Gene Harding, Cisco Duran.
Shout out to all the fellas.
Ricky Cruz and
Caballo.
Caballo, we love Caballo. Ellie Rodriguez. Lisa Corral, who's another South Florida legend down here, and it's every single one of them would tell you that the first time you do it, it goes well. Relatively well.
Right, okay.
Maybe now you look back and go, oh my God,
yeah.
Burn the tape.
Right,
I don't want to look at
I got away with that. Yeah.
I got away with that. Oh, how did somebody let me on stage for that long?
Right.
And I was only on stage for 5 minutes. How the fuck did somebody let me on stage for that long? But something went well. Something felt at home for you. Something worked. And even if of course you probably didn't crush.
Right, okay.
I would assume you didn't crush, or I would assume it's not what you would consider crushing now. But something clicked. Something felt like I want it. For me, and this is even outside of comedy, I knew stand-up was what I was going to do for the rest of my life because it was something I was really okay with failing at. Not collectively, but night to night, you fail, you bomb, rough crowd. No two sets are the same. It's a lot. And as you go on, what a bomb was at 1 year in is not going to be what a bomb is at 4 years in or 10 years in or whatever. But failure is inherently a part of the process in stand-up, and it's public. You fail in front of people, right? You could, as a musician, you could share a song with somebody and they could go, I don't really like it. It's okay, whatever. But it was just between you and that one person.
Right.
As a comedian, you literally have to fail in front of a room of people in order to learn what works or not. And for me as a human being, I knew stand-up was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life because I loved failing at it. I did.
That's crazy.
It would go badly. I would bomb. And I would be like, I got to get on stage again. I gotta do it again. Like, it didn't shake my reserve. It didn't shake my core. If anything, it just made me want to get on. Even this week, I've had a fucking terrible week of shows in Miami.
Tough crowd.
Tough crowds, animals, fucking brutal, drunk, hecklers, assholes. Like, it's been a rough fucking week in Miami. Like, ranging from like shows at the Improv to bars to private rooftop to shows that I was headlining. And even still, tonight, I'm like, oh, yeah, there's a show in downtown Miami later on. God, I kind of want to drop in. Like, because this week, having to quote unquote have failed this many times this week is only making me want to get on stage even more tonight. So I think I don't know. If you're considering this art form or you're considering anything creative, I think that's a sign it's for you.
How do you judge fail? Fail is a very, very strong word. You know, but very rare do I ever use that because I feel like if you bounce back, you never really fail. You kind of just fell. When you say failed, are you comparing it to I didn't get as many laughs as I thought I should have? That doesn't mean I had to kill. That doesn't mean I had to be my best set. But I should at least got 60% of laughs where I got 40, or I shouldn't have, like, how do you judge that? What is it that kind of, for you, because I know for everybody it's different. For you, what do you think makes it, I failed. It wasn't as what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's quantifiable and qualifiable. It's both. So, yes, quantifiable, numerically, laughs are it. Like, the room doesn't lie.
Mm-hmm.
You might not like a comedian. You might not like their style, their jokes, whatever. If the room's laughing, they're doing something right, right? So you have to separate that. You could be like, it's not for me, but it works.
Give the credit where it's deserved, right?
Give the credit where it's deserved. At the end, that's the metrics. Like, every job has metrics. If you're in sales, it would be how many dollars you brought in that month.
Right.
If you're a doctor, it would be how many, I don't know.
Lives you saved or changed.
Patients you have, whatever.
Right.
Clients you have, whatever. I think as a comedian, yes. Laugh-wise, that's it. For me, I think the bigger failure, because the reality is, like, no joke works the same way. I feel this way. I feel like no joke works 10 times out of 10. Maybe it's my theory, my delulu. I don't know. But, like, I feel like no joke works 10 times out of 10. Like, even if it's your best shit, you may find a crowd, a moment, a night, a set that you're like, whoop. Guess not. You know what I mean? Just based on whatever the vibe is. So for me, a failure is if I feel like as if I wasn't in control of myself, of the set, of the room. Like, that's the real failure. Because I've also had sets, and like all the guys we talked about, Gene and Ricky, like they'll tell you too, where you get to a certain level where you know how to get laughs. So you'll get off stage and people will be like, great job, so funny. But you feel like it's a failure.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's where it's like, at some point, getting the laughs is just going through the motions.
Right.
You know what you're like, that's my job. I'm literally not doing my job if I don't get laughs. And then at another point, you define what a failure is because you're like, I wasn't present. I didn't handle this correctly. I wanted to do other jokes. I didn't. I that. I did too much crowd work. Not enough. But you know what I mean? So that's like it's a mixed question to answer.
And I totally get it. And with that, with what you just ended off with, does that kind of make you adjust more for the next one? Or do you take it as, hey, this crowd was not one that I should have done my average of 5 minutes of crowd work versus the whole set? Or are you like, you know what, my 5 minutes of crowd work didn't work today, I'm going to tone it down to 2 next time?
Nah.
You don't let it fuck with you enough?
No, it's not even that. It's just like, no, you have to analyze every set and see where you went wrong, where you lost them, where you had them. And I don't think it's like, I did 5 minutes of crowd work, I should do 2 next time. I don't think it's like that. I think it's definitely reading the room and understanding what that crowd needs in that moment. But then also at some point as a comedian, like, I don't know, like, you don't want to compromise your voice either.
Right. Yeah.
So you're kind of like, especially once you start like headlining or like closing shows, people are coming to see you. sometimes they've seen you a million times and they love you and they're going to fuck with you no matter what comes out of your mouth.
Right.
And then other times they've never seen you. They have no idea who you are. And then sometimes it's right in the middle. They've kind of seen you. Maybe they saw something on the internet, whatever. And you have to do your job as a comedian, which is adapting and reading a room and, yes, working a crowd and having a good set. But then you also reach a point where you're like, this is me. Like, I mean, like I had this happen in Kendall last night. You know, like I'm very, and this is who I am. Like, and there's no right and wrong. I'm just who I am. Like, I am a big feminist in its truest form. I'm not man-hating. I joke about it in my act. I'm very not. I don't have daddy issues. I love my dad. I have male best friends. I'm straight. I love dick. I'm not man-hating. Like, I'm whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like,
right.
but I am very pro-women. And, like, things that affect women inspire me in my comedy. So I am pro-choice. I love the gay and queer community. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I have material about all of these things. Last night, I started doing a joke about the gay community and Don't Say Gay, and an old Cuban man in West Kendall stands up, drunk, and is like, fuck you, you stupid bitch, do your research, that's not what it's about, they're trying to protect our kids. From saying gay, you don't understand, you're the problem, you're like, just spewing his, you know, which like, embarrassing. Like, that's not the way you act at a show. But B, I'm never not doing that joke.
Good. Fuck yeah.
That joke is me at my core.
Hell yeah.
I love that joke. That joke is what I believe in. Clearly, you've never seen me live before, so you didn't like the joke, and you don't need to agree. You don't even need to like me. You don't even need to laugh. But you also can't get up and disrupt a whole fucking show. You know what I mean? So I say that to say, like, yeah, I played to the room, and I had to recover from that and make sure everybody else had a good time. But I didn't go home that night going, oh, you know what? Like, I shouldn't tell that joke anymore.
Good for you.
Fuck no. That joke is me.
Right.
That joke is who I am. I'm not going to, you know, so you have to, like, you can't compromise who you are. That's what I'm trying to say.
You know, crazy to hear that story. And obviously, you're from New York.
Yeah.
And, you know, Miami people, we have this weird competitive thing. Used to be Miami versus New York and California. Or not California, but L.A. I don't even think we consider California anything. Yeah, because that fucking state is crazy. It's bananas. It's communist. It's I don't know. California? Wild. I can't believe they put up with a lot of the shit that they put up with. Too many rules, too many this. But anyhow, we know
it's not crazier than Florida. Florida's the craziest.
It's funny because, you know, difference of opinion. You're right. Everybody says Florida is the craziest.
Yeah.
Well, great segue because I wanted to ask you that. So coming from New York, where we think it's tough, there's such a plethora of people, much like Miami, you know, just a plethora of Latinos, Europeans, you name it, everything. What was the big culture shock? Because you're already in this melting pot of cultures, in the melting pot of all kind of different attitudes and approaches. You said it yourself, Italians aren't easy neither.
No.
When you came over here to Florida, especially South Florida, because we're completely different from the rest of Florida.
I will agree with that. Yeah.
What did you first get? Like when I first met you, you can't remember, but that first time when you were here for those first couple months, maybe 2 or 3 sets, what was the difference that you got, especially when comparing it to so many different places? You told me off cam, you've been to, I don't know, more than like 15, 20 states pretty much performing. So you've seen a lot of different crowds of all ethnicities, all different lights of the world. You know, what was your take on South Florida when you were first here?
I grew up in Kendall, so I wasn't foreign to Miami per se, but close-minded was what I thought about Miami.
Interesting.
And it's what I believe it or not, hear me out. And it's what I think now on the tail end of my journey here, moving back to New York. I think the same thing I thought those first 3 to 6 months when I relocated back. I think the same thing. Where I grew up in Miami and I didn't love growing up here. I felt I didn't fit in Miami. It was home, so I loved it for that. But I don't socialize the way people socialize. I didn't care for some of the things Miami boasted about.
The materialism, the cockiness.
The party.
The excessive club.
Didn't care. Didn't care. I didn't care for the vanity of it. I just felt out of place. I always felt more at home in New York, and I do still say that. I do believe that. I still feel more at home in New York.
At what age, sorry to interrupt you, at what age did you start going over there or moved over? What's up, you crazy people out there? Let me interrupt this podcast really quick just to give you a reminder. If you really like the gear that I'm rocking and you're a proud black sheep yourself, make sure you go check out blacksheepapparel.shop where you can get all the dopest gear to help remind the world that you truly are a proud black sheep. We got caps, t-shirts, tank tops, shorts, sweaters, hoodies. I mean, you name it, we got it on there. Make sure you go show some love, show your support, and represent what you really are. Go to blacksheepapparel.shop. Now back to the podcast.
Well, I was born in Jersey, and I have family in New York and New Jersey, so I spent like every summer, Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving. Like, so I spent a lot of my time, even though I lived in Miami, up there. So New York always felt like home, and living in New York as an adult was always like a really big goal of mine. So I'm not foreign to New York. And then I moved to New York like immediately after college. Not to do comedy. I did PR. But I moved to New York. That was my goal, and I did it like 2 months after I graduated. And then pandemic brought me back down to Miami. But my first experiences were like obviously through comedy. So when I came down in the pandemic, I just wasn't used to like crowds not listening.
That's wow. That's wild that's what you say, because I would think, yeah, that's one of our worst
worst
habits.
traits.
Yeah.
I was like, they're so rude. Like, they're talking.
Yeah, shut the fuck up and listen.
Shut the fuck up. Like, I can't believe people are talking during like a live performance. And then
you would think that you were gonna say something like, they don't get my jokes. It's no.
Well,
they're
didn't.
But they were just rudely talking. How are they gonna get it if they're fucking talking and not paying attention?
They were high and drunk immediately upon walking in, and they were just like, I just couldn't believe the level of rudeness to like talk like that or be on your phone or yell or this behavior when like a live performance is going on.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, obviously you encounter that in a lot of places. I'm not saying Miami is the only place that has hecklers at all, but it's next level there's just like no respect for the art form.
That shit bothers me to hear that, man. Wow.
At all. Like, somebody's up there, and I've seen like comedians that I love and admire and are amazing joke writers and thinkers and creators, like, die 1,000 deaths up there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's brilliant what they're saying, and you guys are staring at them. And that's where, like, it's not a comedy city, but that's what I mean when I say close-minded.
I hear you.
Miami, a lot of the people at these shows have only ever lived in Miami.
Yep.
Born in Miami. Hispanic. Yo, Miami's the best. Miami's the best. Miami's the best. Miami's the best. It's whatever. And I'm like, you don't know.
You don't even have the right to say that because you haven't been anywhere else.
You haven't been anywhere else. You haven't even gone to Broward enough. You people bitch about going to Broward. You bitch about going to West Palm. And then you look at this comedian who's trying to talk about something that is outside of your life.
Yeah, your little tiny fucking
hole. It's not the palmetto.
Hole. Yeah.
It's not a croqueta. It's not Pitbull. It's not Art Basel. It's not lip filler. It's not whatever.
Oh, God, that's the top 10 of all we know. Huh?
And they're
I love it. That's
this
crazy.
guy sucks. He's not funny.
Yeah.
Like, no, bitch. Like, read a book.
Yeah.
Like, read a book. Leave the city. Think outside of the box.
I hear you, hon. I fucking hear you.
That's what it was. Like, it was like, no, he's not funny. It's not funny to you because you haven't lived enough. You think everything in your life is the best in your little quarter. You know what I mean?
That sounds so accurate, dude. It really does.
And it's like, bro, and like, at least be real about a city. And that's the difference between New York and Miami. New Yorkers will tell you we're the greatest city in the world, but also like we're a piece of shit. Like, they're real about their city. Like, they know what sucks about their city. They know what needs to improve. They'll tell you to your face, it fucking sucks living here. It's hard. I'm never leaving. I love it. But, and inherently in New York, it is more diverse. Like, Miami is diverse, but it's also like Miami is Jews, Hispanics. If you're white, you're exotic in Miami.
You are right. White, I think.
Or if you're anything that's not that, you're exotic.
I don't know the
Miami.
numbers, but I think whites is the least almost here, I guess.
Yeah. And then you go to New York where it's literally like Korean, Japanese,
Right.
Chinese,
Yeah.
Italian, Sicilian, French, Albanian, New Zealand, like, and it's all around. It forces you to see like
Different parts of the world all
different
within this one.
perspectives.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
that's why it's a great city for comedy, because you're gonna get an actual mixed bag on a lineup. You know what I mean? So that's my thing about Miami, is I just wish Miami like checked itself.
I hope, you know,
Like-
and I want to, I'm not saying that anybody's going to fire back at you, but I'm sure there's obviously, you know, viewers, listeners, you know, fans who are thinking or feeling a certain way with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I got your back, girl. I think there's a reality check to our people. Like,
Side of my DMs.
you
I don't
know,
give a fuck.
like this is some real shit, you know, like you're spitting some fire, some valid ass points that we need to work on as a whole, you know?
We need to work on as a whole. And also, like, Miami citizens, I've watched Miami citizens boast about Miami. I love Miami. I grew up in Miami. Don't get me wrong. It's not all hate. Like, this is still home. When I touch down at Miami International Airport, and whenever I'm on Kendall Drive, I'm like, it's home. I love Kendall. It is still home, right? It's not all hate. It's frustration. It's frustration over like all this potential that's going to waste. And like, you boast that you love this city, but what are you doing to make it? So many people, I'm like, what are you doing to make it better? You know what I mean? In order to love your city, you have to be willing to have it grow and be challenged. And that means facing what about it needs to change. And there's this like, we the best.
Some Cali shit.
Yeah,
That's it.
like ignorance in Miami. And I'm like, we're not. And that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, it truly lacks substance in Miami.
Out of all the cities that you've been through so many, right? You were saying it again earlier on. Name a couple cities that there was something special about it that, you know, whether you could put your finger on it or not. You know, I would assume you probably did great in regards to your set, but take that a little bit away where you were able to stay there for a few days, maybe a week or so. Maybe you did several performances. What are some cities that stood out to you in regards to like, man, those fucking people there, I don't know what it is about them, whether it was, you said North Dakota or South Dakota, maybe it was wherever. What are some cities that stood out to you and what can you remember as to why?
For real, North Dakota was amazing.
Yeah.
I barely knew where that shit was on a map. I couldn't tell you anything about it outside of it's white, it's Central Time, and it's going to be cold as fuck because I went in January and it was -9 degrees.
God damn.
Literally. It was like deep, dead winter, seriously cold. And like everything aside, like the best crowds. They were nice. They were respectful. They looked forward to comedy. I had a mixed bag politically. I did some jokes and I knew who was right and left and up and down and who liked OnlyFans, hated OnlyFans, liked abortion, hated abortion. I could tell, but like they had such an appreciation for comedy. They had the tickets for my show months in advance. They made a night out of it. They committed themselves to having a good time. They were drunk, but not too drunk. I didn't deal with any really invasive heckling. It was all fun and whatever. And I'm like, man, I'm literally in like the middle of nowhere by my standards. And I'm having an amazing time connecting with people who I don't even know the next thing about their damn state.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So, like, not even going to lie, like, Fargo, North Dakota was fun. Like, not even going to lie. And, like, Chicago is amazing. Chicago's, like, equal parts urban and city, but Midwestern and suburban. And it's a massive city, but it's not quite as chaotic as New York is, I guess you could say. You know what I mean? So, like, I always have a blast with Chicago crowds. I think they're smart. They're fun. I loved Phoenix, Arizona. I was there in February. It's not even about I crushed. It's not even about that. I had fun. I felt like human connection on stage. Like every one of those crowds, I felt like I was like, fuck yeah. They see me. I see them. Yeah.
There's just no denying that, you know, every demographic is different. And when you live a certain way, deal with certain people, your energy is different. You know, the waves of energy that you give off is different. Your level of appreciation is different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I can say here, again, born and raised in Miami, and I love Miami, but bro, I'll quickly talk shit about Miami just as faster than you, if not, you know?
Yeah.
Because I know my peoples, and I know that unfortunately, from the influences that we have, again, you were talking about it earlier, the vanity, off the chain, the materialism.
It's nuts.
The materialism is ridiculous.
It's nuts.
Living way outside of your means
Nuts.
is like, what the fuck? What are you doing? You can't even afford to do that.
Also, the amount of women that I know that are like, let him pay for it. Let him
That
pay
shit
for
too.
it. Let him pay for it. He pays for everything. He whatever. And I'm like, bitch, get a job. Like, I just like can't. Like, I was never raised to try to find a man. I was raised to want to find an equal, not find a man to carry me and take care of every one of my bills. I also don't want that either. Like, I want him to provide for himself, and I provide for myself, and then we provide for each other. Like, in that level of like, but like Miami is so like, they don't want to get deep. They don't want to like talk about real shit sometimes on stage. You know what I mean? They just, at least like comedy wise, they just want to hear like the Palmetto, Bad Bunny, Art Basel, Croquetas,
Colada.
Traffic,
Cocaine, whatever. Yeah.
Broward, Dade, Kendall, like Palmetto Bay. Like, that's all they want to do. And it's like, they have to want more than what they have for Miami. And I think a lot of the great people that have come out of Miami still have a love and admiration for it, but they've made a name for themselves elsewhere and understood that there's potential elsewhere. But yeah, the vanity, it's just fake. It's fake.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that we get.
People will, oh my God, you're amazing to your face. And then in the back, like, crazy. Like, in the same breath. You're amazing. I got you. I'm going to call you. I'll hook you up. I'm on your team. I love you. And you never hear from those motherfuckers again. You know what I mean? And they unfollow you. They block you. You hear they talk shit. Like, it's like, you know, it's, in that sense, it's like a nice city, but it's not a kind city. I just wish, I don't know. But it's truly sad to say, because I think it's a gorgeous place.
Right.
With so much beauty and potential and talent. There's so many pockets of the city that are doing cool shit, people doing cool shit. It just feels like it doesn't.
Brittany, you're not wrong for what you're saying, man.
If you're doing something different in this city, people are like, that's whack.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, like, we have theater here. We have comedy here. Somebody's saying something different. Someone's trying to make something happen.
Right.
Instead of embracing that, so many people in Miami are like, yeah, okay, let's go to 11. Like, they just ignore, like, they're just stuck in their way. Yeah.
You know, I remember a while back, I'm not sure, you know what the UFC is, whether you like it or not or watch it.
Yeah.
A while back, Dana White, the president of UFC, he had a fight event over here, and people literally popped up like at 11 o'clock, right? And real fight fans, they're there for the first couple of fights. You know, you're paying top dollar. You're there for all the fights. You're not just. And Dana White was so mad, and he had so much shit to talk about Miami that he refused to come back. I think it was like 10 years, 12 years. And this is a huge city. You should be coming back. And I remember when all that happened, he was finally going to come back. And I thought to myself, you know, one of the biggest problems with Miami is we have too many goddamn options. There's too many options of what to do. So the minute something doesn't work for you conveniently, perfectly, to the way you want it to, you're aggravated, you're whatever. So it's like
there's also no loyalty. There's no any one of those people or options. I could go to a comedy show, or I could go to Tootsie's, or I could go to a UFC fight.
Right.
Or nobody really kind of knows what they want to. Yeah.
Right. What is the most convenient? Who's willing to pick me up? Who's going to pay for this? How late we're going to be over there? Am I going to hook up over here? Too many options, and therefore you don't have the commitment, or you're disloyal to sticking to the game plan and enjoying it for what it is.
And there's also just this like loosey-goosey energy. Like, at least in New York, like, you show up late to your show or your spot, like, you lose your spot, buddy. You lose your spot.
I like that.
Like, it's just, I know comedians down here are hosting and emceeing shows, and they show up. It's an 8 o'clock show, and they show up at 8:20, and I'm like, you're the MC. What are you doing? Do we care about nothing down here? Like, does nothing matter? But, like, to your point about Dana White, like, Rogan has said this, a bunch of comedians have said, like, they don't want to return down here.
Yeah. It's fucking, it shit bothers me, dude. Because Miami's my
bothers
heart.
me.
It bothers me. It bothers me. It bothers me.
But I get
But
why.
I know, exactly. I know it. I understand.
I'm from Miami. Miami's my heart too. Like I say all of this like frustration. I feel like it's like my child that I'm like, God, you had so much potential and now like what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, it breaks my
get
heart
it.
to be moving back to New York in 2 weeks. It breaks my heart. But at some point I'm like, damn, I deserve better. I've done everything I can in Miami and I'm kind of like,
Well, you know what? Good.
I can't do this anymore. I can't do shows starting 45 minutes late. I can't do hecklers anymore. I can't do this anymore. Like, yeah.
You're you know, I was gonna ask you. You're a single kid. I just saw a clip of your mom on your podcast. She looked like she had nothing but spunk and fire, and I was like, oh, I can see where she gets it from.
Yep.
My mom's my best friend. And I talk to her about everything. The only thing I don't talk to her about is private sexual bullshit.
Yeah,
and,
she doesn't need to know.
Yeah, she don't need. I'll tell her something like, yeah, mama hooked up, and that's it. We won't talk nothing else about that.
Yeah,
but,
she doesn't need to know your favorite position.
Yeah, exactly,
yeah,
right.
Okay, you could draw the line.
But everything else, if I want to vent, if I want to talk some shit, if I want to, whatever. I hear you talking right now, and I'm like, damn, I get it, man. I can get, how tough it is. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was feeling you to the extent where I was like, man, if I start telling you about how hard it's been to get support from my own people here in Miami on the podcast. It's like, wait, what the fuck? I've seen so many podcasts start and go down, and I'm still here rocking, knocking on the door of 10,000 subscribers. And yet I can pinpoint so many motherfuckers who still haven't subscribed, never repost my shit, don't, leave comments or likes or whatever. Not gonna go there, I accepted it for what it is. But it's fun when you got people that you can talk to, to vent to. Yeah. I can tell your mom is that with you. Yeah. What's her take? What did she tell you? Because I know she had to kind of influence you, give you a little bit of this fire. And then I just saw her on your podcast. I'm sure she's telling you, girl, don't turn the other cheek. Just let them kiss your ass. What did she say? Fellas, if you're ever in the South Florida region, or better yet, the beautiful city of Miami, and you want the dopest fade possible, make sure you go to butterthebarber.com. That's BUTTA thebarber.com. Butter happens to be my personal barber, a great friend of mine, and he is top notch, one of the best barbers in Miami. So once again, if you're in the Miami region and you want to get the dopest, flyest haircut, make sure you go visit BUTTA thebarber.com and set your appointment with my boy Butter. Back to the podcast.
Yeah, she does say that a lot. Like she was there last night when I
Oh yeah.
My mom and my dad were there, and it was really sad because it was supposed to be like a little going away thing at Mellow Grapes, which is an incredible wine bar in West Kendall, and they always take good care of me and my family. They're great food, great drinks. They do comedy. They do.
Shout out to Mellow Grapes.
We love them. Ramon is one of the best human beings ever. His staff is incredible. Anyways, but she was there, and yes, like, she's. I mean, I think my mom has always kind of taught me like, fuck them.
There you go.
Like, she's always like, kindness kills. Do you? She's a spitfire. You're 100% right. And she's instilled in me, like, nobody tells you what the fuck to do. Nobody tells you who you are. Don't change for anybody. Oh, they don't like you? Get over it. Like, it's very, and she's tough like that, and I think I respect that she raised me that way, because now I think I have like a suit of armor around me where I genuinely can be like, oh well, and just kind of detach from things. But
does your dad match her energy, or is he more a little bit more?
To an extent, she's the comedian of the pair.
Okay.
She's the crazy. I mean, my dad's hilarious too, and a goofball, and really animated and stuff. But my mom is the shit kicker. Okay, for sure. But yeah, my dad too. My dad as well. Like last night, he's funny. He's like, he has mobility issues, so he has like a cane now. And he like, after the show, he was like, "You were amazing. I'm so proud of you." And I said, "Thank you." And then he pulls me in, and he's like, when he was on his way, when he was walking out of the bar, he goes, "I tried to trip him with my cane." I was like, "Thank you, Daddy. I appreciate the effort."
Dad gonna catch a fucking assault.
Yeah, he's Italian, so but yeah, like they loved I mean, I think if it would be interesting to talk to them. Like, I mean, I've obviously talked to them about it, but like they fell in love with Miami years ago. That's over 30 years ago. They loved Miami and they honeymooned here. They didn't want to go anywhere too far, but they loved Miami. And
So they originally were from New Jersey as well?
from Jersey.
That's where they, okay.
Got married in Jersey. They did they didn't have a lot of money, so they did like a small honeymoon in Miami. They had the time of their life. They loved it. Obviously, a very different Miami 30 plus years ago.
Yes, yes.
You know, they were like, we always loved that city. And then Dad and I would keep going back to visit, and we had so much fun, and the weather and the people and they loved Miami. And then very serendipitously, my dad got offered a job here. Like within a year of them being married, so random. It was like, we need you to be like a sales manager, but you're going to be stationed in South Florida and Miami. They were young and I hadn't arrived yet. So they said, you know, fuck it, let's move to Miami. And like, you know, I think there's a part of them too that's like mourning the loss of what the city was.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Obviously, they're happy with certain things, like cities evolve, people evolve. It's all not bad. But I have seen them go from like feeling very embraced by Miami and at home and like really loving the city and considering it a second headquarters and place to like now 30 plus years later, like they don't identify with it at all, like at all, you know, and they've never been Hispanic. They're Italian, they're white, they're like whatever, but they loved Miami and used to go out all the time. And like now the city is like truly not only recognizable because cities are expected to change, but there's like, I don't think they feel at home anymore either.
Brittany,
like,
listen. If it wasn't, if it wasn't for you saw my gym downstairs. If it wasn't for my line of work, you know, my business is here. Much less even the podcast. You know, the podcast can move, but definitely my bread and butter is me training people. You know, mixed martial arts. If it wasn't for that, without a doubt, I would at minimum. It doesn't seem like the biggest hop, but I would at minimum be in Broward County.
No, but it is a big hop. In Miami, it's a big hop.
That's how big of a difference it is, right? Matter of fact, fucking from one neighborhood to the next is a big hop. Kendall versus Southwest, South Wynwood versus Homestead. It's bananas. People don't understand.
It's a different city.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I do defend Kendall with that. Like whenever people are like Miami and they think Brickell, Wynwood, South Beach, I'm like, the real Miami is Kendall.
Pretty much.
Westchester.
Always has been. I don't know that they consider it anymore, but yeah.
We're at Pinecrest, where all of us grew up. That's real. That's the real Miami.
Yeah, that was considered the heart for the longest time.
Well, that's where everybody grew up, and that's where you know, you're not, if you're from New York, nobody's raised in Times Square. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or maybe they are. I don't know. Like rich kids. I don't know. But like, you know what I mean? Like you're not like I'm a New Yorker. I was raised by Penn Station or Times Square or Central Park. Maybe Central Park. That's a little bit more suburban. But you know what I mean? Like it's that's why I like Kendall, because it's Miami, but it's truly what day-to-day life in Miami is, and it's not as glitzy and vain and party, but that's Miami. That's where all of us kind of got our start, you know, like yeah.
You know, me and my crew, I say my crew, just my second family, we love the beach. We love to play volleyball. And it's a little bit too hot this year, and it's been a crazy rainy summer thus far, so we haven't gone that much this summer, but we typically go to the beach almost every weekend. We almost damn near have a barbecue out there, play volleyball, that good stuff. We have a couple of friends who live in Broward, so you know they always come down to us. So we want to match them, and we're like, hey man, once a month we'll go over there. Every time we go to Broward, we're like, dude, coming to Broward Beach is 10 times better than South Beach.
Yeah.
The people, the energy, the acceptance of us playing volleyball, the ambiance, the everything is fucking that much different from one beach to the other.
Miami's like a bratty teenager that you can't get a hold of.
I like how you say
that. That went through puberty too soon and has too big of tits and an ass. So
can't fucking control them. Yeah.
It thinks it can tell you what to do and where to go. And it's like, Broward is really like civilized Miami. You forget that you can still enjoy South Florida without necessarily getting swallowed by Miami. But then also, like, to do the counterpoint, Miami has a personality that Broward doesn't.
Oh, I like how you said that. Yeah, I get it.
Miami has a spice, if you will.
A certain swag, right.
A certain swag that Broward doesn't, that you can't replicate up there. That makes it Miami. But I get it. And it probably sounds on this podcast like I really hate Miami and I want to detach from it. And I mean, I do right now a little bit. I mean, but it's not, I truly say a lot of these things from love. But I think that's also what happens when it's like time to, you know, re-outgrow your home a little bit, which is okay.
I can almost guarantee that to all the people that really fuck with me, mainly through Instagram, obviously, those who I'm really cool with, who I might maybe never met or who I've only met a couple times, But those who fuck with me, we DM each other, we converse, all that stuff. I can almost guarantee they're all gonna agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I can just right now. I'm just running through the list of all these people, and I'm like, yeah, they're all gonna. I can't. Who's gonna say, damn, Brittany was just fucking sour. That bitch is just
Also,
get the fuck out of Miami. Oh, and you're good.
I also don't give a
good,
fuck.
good,
Yeah.
great. You shouldn't.
Yeah,
but I
no,
can. I feel confident enough because I've had these small nitpick conversations with them, and there's a lot of people who agree with you. There's a lot of people, and those who don't. Guess what? They're club hoppers. They're pill poppers.
And I don't want to fuck with them.
Whatever. Exactly. They're not
think,
your speed. They're not your energy.
And I say this, and I think that we can have this conversation about a city, but we can have it about just societal groups as well too.
Right.
Like you can feel very alone in a city like Miami or even New York or even Los Angeles because it's so big, it's so overwhelming, and until you find your group, your people, you can kind of feel like I don't fit in here.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't whatever. But what I will say, moving back to Miami taught me is that there are like-minded, you're not alone. You know, and again, this is trying to be a bigger message outside of just a city. Like, you're not alone. You're not that weird for thinking that.
Right.
You're not that whatever. Like, I thought I would never find the home and community that I did in Miami because I thought it was all BBLs and pill poppers and yacht partiers and drug dealers and nobody gives a fuck. And I was like, well, that's not me. I feel so out of place here. And then I'm so glad I got to live in Miami again as an adult because I was like, oh, wait, like.
I wasn't wrong.
I wasn't wrong, but also like, oh, this is my home. I just needed to find my people. And I say this too, like, by the way, like, I sell out shows in Miami. And like, to anybody listening, if you've ever been to my show, and especially if you've been to my show more than once, I love you. I appreciate you. And this stuff wasn't about you. That's what I try to say. Because I have found, like, a family in Miami. And my fans are fucking amazing. You know what I mean? And, like all the people last night who had my back at that show are people who go to multiple shows of mine. And they got so mad at this man coming at me. They were, like, fucking ready to square up for me. Like, these women. They were like, you're wrong. Stop interrupting her. She's a... Like, you know. So, like, I say that to say, like, you just have to either you got to find the people that are like-minded, or don't be so afraid to be the person who creates the community. It's like cheesy as hell to say, but if you build it, they will come. You know, you're not that alone. There's still, like, I know Miami can be overwhelming and New York can be overwhelming, but you're always going to find somebody who speaks your language, for lack of a better term, you know, who sees you for you. And if you can't find that group, that club, that venue, that community, maybe it's because, like, you're destined to be the person to make it. You know, like, you're supposed to be the person to bring it together. So
I completely agree with you, Britt. I really do. And just to close out that great talk that we just had, why, you know, it's a black sheep thing to say. It's not just a plug. It really is what it is. Why fit in when you were meant to stand out? You literally were meant to stand out. And you didn't do it stubbornly. You didn't do it closed-mindedly. You just realized it. Like, the way you just closed everything. You just realized it. You thought, hey, maybe I was too young. Maybe I was this and that. No, you came back and you realized, no, you know what? This isn't my thing. I love it. You know, I love to be there.
Yep.
You might like the beach. You might like to get a little bit of sun, but you're not all up in the water. You're not out there burning, trying to stay out there getting a tan that you don't belong getting, you know? And you realize, and that's that. And if anybody takes it wrong, like you said, fuck them. Fuck them, because it's not like you were insulting anybody. You're just keeping it 100. And I think you're awesome, and I think it's great that you said that. And I hope that all our people listening, especially the real Miamians, they respect that, they understand that, and they're accountable for it. Those who know that they are, you know, it should be.
I hope so. Thank you. And the coolest people stand out. That's the last thing I'll say. The coolest people to me are always the people who do stand out. The people who dare to, like, say nah. The people who dare to ask a question. The people who dare to do something different.
Right.
To go against the grain. And if you're so afraid of standing out because you feel like you'll be alone, like I said, like, you stand out there long enough, loud enough, proud enough, and keep doing your thing unapologetically, before you know it, you won't be standing alone.
Exactly.
That's what I'll say.
You're right. Yeah, you said it was cliche, but it was true. If you build it, they will come. Not purposely you're building, but just standing alone and doing all that, you're gonna attract the right people. They're gonna come. It's true. It really is.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here, and that's why you're here, because you attracted me to your energy and the way you are, and hopefully vice versa. Now, you know, you got to get to know me a little bit. I know that you're leaving to New York. I know you'll be back and forth, but we're gonna keep in touch. And before we close this out, your podcast.
Yeah.
How to reach out to you, how to communicate with you. Please tell everybody about that.
Yeah, I have a big announcement. I'll share it here. First off, obviously I'm not totally breaking up on Miami. So much so that my next headlining dates, I got approached by the Adrienne Arsht Center of Performing Arts, and I will be headlining there.
Wow.
Saturday, November 23rd, the first comedian in the Carnival Studio Theater. Hopefully going to be the first of many that they're going to kick off in a series of live comedy. They've been meaning to bring stand-up into that space. Super honored that they reached out to me.
Congrats. That's phenomenal.
I'm really excited. 2 shows, early and late show. Going to be a lot of jokes that people love, but I think I'm also going to use the night to get into a lot of darker, more personal material that I haven't done in Miami. So it should be hopefully a treat for anybody who's ever seen me live. It's definitely going to be something different.
Is that when you're coming back? November?
I'll be back. I have visits in September and October. I do, because I have my mom and dad here and my podcast. Good segue. It's called Big Yikes. It's weekly, every Wednesday. We have some really cool Miami OG peeps there. Some cool comedians have been on. It's great. It's super fun.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. Great conversation, just cutting up. I love it.
It's just vulnerability. It's funny. You're gonna laugh. It's definitely funny, but it's definitely not a comedy podcast. I will say that. It's
you're being you, which is fun enough on its own.
Yeah, we go deep for sure. I try to get people to admit their big yikes moment, their embarrassing thing, their fuck up, their mistake, their comeback, whatever it is. And I'm on tour. So if you're in New York, come see me. But also, I'm going to be in a whole bunch of places through the rest of the year.
And your handle on Instagram is?
Brittany Brave on everything. Brittany Brave. Brittany. Brave.
Brittany, I think you're awesome.
I think you're awesome. Thank you.
I appreciate you fucking putting Miami in this place like it should be. We need to hear this. We need to hear this, especially from a local. You are a local. You're one of us, and I think that we need to hear this, We need to spread the word to those people that we think, we all have that friend like, yo, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Shut them, yo, you're being rude. Like, come on, man, respect the fucking crowd. So thank you for blessing the podcast. Thank you for coming. I know you have a tight schedule. You got all kind of shit you got to do. You're rocking. You're doing big things, and I know you're about to get on the phone and do some other things. You're about to inspire some young up and coming women, which I think is also dope.
Hopefully, we'll see.
Hopefully. You will, girl. I appreciate the hell out of you guys. Go show your love. Brittany Brave on Instagram. Follow her. Show your support. And don't forget, if you want to rock some of this gear, some of this apparel that I got, much less. I didn't rock the hat today because I had to give a shout out to my barber, Butter. I can't sit this clean without, I can't put the hat on and not show you guys the dope fade.
Your barber's name is Butter?
Butter. But you know what? He's so fucking hood that he doesn't even say butter. He says Butta. Butter.
Butter.
That's so Miami, is it not?
He's going to make your hair like
butter. Oh, my God. Let's close it on that. Brittany, I appreciate you, hon. Have a great life. We'll keep in touch. Guys, keep it love out there. Make sure you spread it. Peace.